like a big impact on anything because we've talked about this, much more aggressive strategies don't exist. If we see like a Hibana or Firma, I'm like, why? Because you don't really even need them to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's just the kind of way that we've seen them generally play at this point. There's only one or two places. Hibana is stopped here, and you look at one point, and assuming if Mira gets banned here, which he usually does, it limits Penthouse to being a very kind of solitary hold. There's a couple of places, there she goes, there's a couple of places you can pop Hibana charges to get a bit more control from angles. If you think of things like VIP, if they're trying to hold billiards, or even the back wall, the quadruple wall on that point as well. If you look at maybe some of the long wall, if you're breaking from courtyard across onto kitchen, there's some potential for that, but otherwise hard destruction is quite limited here, especially in the LATAM region. Talking of Valkyrie is gone as well. She's the final big ban, and she is, again, a big part of LATAM's kind of play style, how much they like to keep a very loose control and aggressive control of a map and play space, and again, how much they love to lead fragging with that MPX as well. Hookah Billiards is going to be the first point for Furious Gaming to hold on to. Now, they gave Ints a pretty good run for their money on the previous map, I'd say.
We haven't seen INTZ play Coastline this season in Pro League at all. They didn't play it one bit. Last time I'm pretty sure we've seen them play it was back in their BR6 relegations. They played against Immortals, which are now called MIBR at this moment. They won 7-5 in Coastline. So that's the last time we've seen them actually take part in this map. So is there going to be some new stuff? Fresh, new ideas, what we're not really expecting from INTZ, because we really haven't seen much of Coastline from them.
Well, I guess we'll have to see if it translates, if they were secretly hiding stuff. The first thing I noticed, obviously, out the gate is that Lion is on the board, screaming at that little diffuser, and I guess they're going to see if they can do something quick and aggressive here. We have seen Lion on this very map, on this very point, be used, I believe it was in NA, by maybe Rogue, very aggressively and very convincingly. And it's just one of those things where, because there's this immediate access and because there's a lot of angles being held, but you can kind of use it just to pinpoint and pincer down a roam, and then from then on shut down very, very convincingly against the point. Zupa's going to be holding on to Cool Vibes so far. Looks like they're just going to set up the ADSs and barbed wire, as is standard. Make sure they can't get caught out from any quick-fired grenades from below. And FJ is currently roaming his way back over from Lambo Door.
Roman Legion seem to be much more of an occurrence time and time again, but we'll be supporting the Vigil, which I do like to see this kind of duo ship as he walks away.
Yeah, he's already broken up with him. Why is Maestro so injured? What's happened there?
Spawn Peak.
Oh, there we go. That's what's happened there. Pretzel Spawn Peaks out Drunks and tries to drop him. Obviously, it was a two-parter. The first part didn't go so great, and the second part, well, we saw the results there. And to lose the Ash, I mean, it's not the end of the world.
Nah, it's just an Ash. Sure, you lose the R4C. Sure, you lose some destructibility, but you still have Sophia to deal with Maestro cameras and really anything else in between. So INTZ look to take in towards Aquarium, pretty standard. So for this push especially, you need to try and get anything you can from behind that bar. We typically see somebody play behind Aquarium bar now and again, but the big thing about that position is that it can be naded from the rooftop via the vent hatches that there is, but there's no frag range for INTZ. But there's not even anybody behind the Aquarium bar to begin with.
No, it looks like they can kind of roll in and get control of Aqua, but then there's always the concern of being shut down from luggage and shut down from a rotation, because you do kind of funnel yourself into a little bit of a tricky situation at that point. They got the air jabs to at least give themselves a bit of a heads up and a bit of a warning. The drone drops off the side and they kind of get themselves ready to push, but obviously with all the defenders of Furious still up and standing in a minute 20, whatever they're trying to set up for, Ents have got to start setting up a bit quicker now, as Pretzel's just going to dig in behind the bomb chassis, the short wall, and try and find some bodies. The first of the E1Ds pops off and it doesn't catch anyone. Zupa again, 1,000,000 miles an hour, that man, as he swings around and tries to catch it but can't quite find anything. Reminds me a bit of Tweak from South Park.
Just always just going for it, yeah. Just always hyped up in the Tweak Bros coffee, isn't it?
Yeah, but there goes Dudson Well, there go Duds and Boar getting other people. There they go. Woo! As they find 2 more bodies, that is the line coming into use. But there's 40 seconds left. They have to find a way to make use of this now. Pushing against the smoke on a Maestro. It's not the easiest end of round push.
Need to go quick, need to go fast. They are speed. Pretzel's in a perfect position. Shield covering him to the northwest. Oh, what a peek, Duds. Sit down, and even more shots rattle through. Knows exactly where Lion's coming off. Just pulls off the trigger at the wrong moment, or else surely it would have been a dead Lion, but it doesn't matter. Skills eliminates that Nomad, and Boar. He's just looking into the distance because he knows that he's lost a round. And yeah, Furious. Nice defense.
Yeah, really, really well locked down there. Obviously, credit to the Maestro. As we've already said a couple times tonight, it's such a big, big part of how LATAM likes to play, and they use that gun for all of its merit and all of its might, and they can just get complete control over firefights and angles with it. That's Hookah under their belt. Now they're going to rotate downstairs, take Blue Bar next. This is often one of the last picks in EU. They normally opt for at least kitchen first, standardly.
Well, I mean, every bomb site is defendable in Coastline, in a sense. Sure, Penthouse and Theater may be weak, and Penthouse and Theater is extremely strong if Mira ever gets through the banning phase, which is very rare for Coastline. There is creative ways that you can hold it without it, but I think the big thing that kind of Penthouse and Theater lacks compared to everything else is the way that you can utilize your information gathering. And whenever there's a massive double window that basically sanctions off an entire bomb site, that's never going to help in the long term. But, you know, if you think you're a very strong Coastline team, if you win your kitchen, you're going to have to come Blue Bar anyway. So it just, you know, which one do you want to go for first? Yeah. Doesn't really matter.
I do like the way of that if you are playing a mirrorless Penthouse, you try and hold it by not being in the room.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You just open up all the walls and you try and play like a Clash or something.
Yeah. But we'll see if they can do something with the Blue Bar. Obviously, they were already being a bit aggressive with the spawn peaks and that kind of... I expect that to continue. Vigil is on the board. They're going to try the roam again with the Legion 2 is ready to pop some information. And, you know, Pretzel is just rolling around with a big gun currently. And I guess no one's dead yet. So that's a bit slower than it was last time, as weird as it is to say. But as point architecture keeps going out, there's only a moment of time before they start to find their way inside.
Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
So Vigil's been a very big operator, I think, for a lot of Brazilian teams today especially. Even though there's a severe lack of drones around this region, they still get to bring that solid counter. Vigil the Vigilante, as I like to dub him. I dubbed the Vigil the Vigilante.
It's good. Are you the first person to dub him that?
Don't
think
know.
It's in the naming process. Someone go to the...
you know what? I'll take it.
Yeah, I'll give it to you, because I can't be bothered to do the research.
Capitao the captain, looked him on fire.
They've softed the door as the connector, or onto the connector even, so it kind of gives the INT players an immediate in. They're just going to drone it ahead. It buys them a little bit of extra safety, but obviously if you can kind of get yourself a bit more kind of feet inside the ground and inside the building, it might give you a bit more comfort as you try to break and push against it. Finks is watching the run out and the possibility of someone swinging around the side, which isn't too surprising in this region. They've already been very aggressive, just the previous round included, as Boar tries to find a way inside. The first of the E1D pops off now as it tries to catch anyone, but it is, for all intents and purposes, musical statues as everyone stays as still, and they finally get rid of Pretzel, push him out of the corner, and here comes the collapse and the push. Everyone has to loop back round onto point as the bullets go. Does get caught there by the wide swing from the Vigil, who then rotates back upstairs and tries to get the diffuser from above. And it is Drunks finding Zupa in the meantime as well. Suddenly a 3 versus 2 with everything collapsing at once.
No diffuser being picked up, however, from INTZ. That's going to be their main priority. With a minute to go and still utility available, you can see 3 stuns and the smoke still for the Capitao. There's potential. Even Sophia stuns try to get sent in, making sure nobody's from behind, but it's more the Vigil they have to worry about lurking upstairs, and our Toxic Babe gets tossed out. There's the smoke arrow, allows then the Capitao to jump in. Here goes the big play from the Vigil. Nobody's going to be ready for it. Doesn't get detected, but sprays wildly. Know exactly where he is, and that could have been a make or break there for INTZ, but thankfully, they made it work.
That was very, very good thinking from the Vigil, but unfortunately it just didn't quite go his way. They rotated unknowingly to safety, and They would have still put themselves in a bit of a tight spot with 2 more guns pointed the direction, but you've kind of got to act in those situations, and that was the acting that they could think to do. 1-1, Ints pull back around in a much better style, and they lost the first, and I guess they can see if they can try and keep that up as they keep pushing. Again, Coastline, compared to the other maps we've seen today, is very, very back and forth. Very battly for both attackers and defenders. Once upon a time was statistically the most balanced map in all of R6 comp. Whether that stat still stands, I'm not 100% sure, but I know it was a stat that stood for a very, very long time. Blue Bar and Sunrise Bar, they're going to opt to go for again, instead of opting to try and change to, say, Kitchen, and especially to Penthouse, and they feel confident that they can make this work.
Attackers have discovered the location of a bomb.
So Blue Bar last time, if you're furious, I just kind of feel as if they kind of lack the information gathering, and you know, whenever there's no Valkyrie on the board, it can be difficult. Mozzie could have been a good option if they managed to snag a drone here or there. Of course, can be used. Pulse doesn't really have a big say on this bomb site as much. Just really the Valkyrie ban limiting, I think, a lot of teams in LATAM whenever they rely on that aggressive nature being comboed with their communications that they have. That'd be my only kind of point, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about communication is, I know we've mentioned it a couple times with this region, and it's always curious about how it kind of breaks down, because sometimes we'll see a lot of very aggressive solo play, and sometimes it works very well, and sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it's kind of heralded as the peak of this region of what they can do, as no one else can really do that style as well as they can. But then at the same time, we've seen very little droning. We've not seen a huge amount of that level of communication. It's a lot of face checking and kind of knowing and like believing, right, well, there's going to be someone here, so we'll pop some utility here and get the clear that way. FJ opens up and drops duds in the meantime. That is your Twitch out of the equation, which isn't the bit, like, it's a loss. Sure, the F2 is a heck of a gun and duds is a heck of a player, but with the utility they're up against, excluding maybe the Maestro, it's, you know, par for the course.
90Z working their way through and trying to get something back for themselves. Of course, losing that first blood, and especially whenever it's an F2 off the board, and there goes the V308. Hits Smark and FJ. He has to take an early snooze in this round, and well, it does give INTZ something at least to play off. It gives them kitchen control, more importantly, so they can establish a beachhead from that side if they want to, but next step really is going to be eliminate the man on blue stairs. He's going to deny that access to kitchen, but for INTZ, they look as if they want to push in towards office, and VNX is going to take the deep plunge into the bomb site as everybody else is dying around him. Eliminates the smoke. Heart of the bomb site is where he goes, and they're rotating towards blue. There's the Maestro all line up, but no, Vigil will win that out. Such low HP, so this is winnable by Boar. It's up to Zuper, see if he can try and keep it in their favor. Has Diffuser as well, but not a lot of information really being gathered as much. Well, there's that Maestro camera, but still, it's going to be a rough one for, I think, Furious to see if they can make this a success whenever nobody's in a position to try and stop the plant and just playing around with it. Boar baits off it. Final E1D charge goes off.
Wow, the bullets are coming from above. It's just going to try and stick it. The E1D is stopped now, so they are free to move as much as they want. The bullets are even closer. Swings away and gets out of there. Puts some bullets towards someone. And no! Dropped on the way out the door with the last second of a spray. Zuper locks it down with the pistol and gets the counter defuse to put it as 2-1. But that was almost an exceptional play from the Lion there. Now, it looks like we're going to have to re-host. Unfortunately, we're going to go for a remake. So we'll be popping back to the cameras now, I believe. And 2-1. And, you know, Furious Gaming have looked very, very good so far.
Yeah, they've looked solid enough in their defense, winning Blue Bar, of course, winning that hookah, which we can expect them to go for next is going to be the hookah bar. INTZ, they've been pretty unlucky in terms of their communications in that kind of attacking early phase of things. The refrags wasn't really existing there. The fact that Furious are allowing INTZ just to walk into sight should never happen. That should be their big priority for me at the moment.
It seems to happen a lot today as well. We've just seen them kind of suddenly, oh, they're in the middle of point, and they get one or two from behind as well. And I guess it ties back into what we're saying about communication, is how much of that is getting relayed, how much of that is getting fed back to the rest of the players and the rest of the team to know that, oh, they've just come around the back. They've pushed in, they've killed me, they've killed two more as well, and it can really just turn the tide. And usually you see that once or twice. But we've seen that
we're seeing
several
that
times.
quite a lot. And again, comes back to lack of intel from the opening kind of stages. Not even a bit of barbed wire in that door, which is another kind of sloppy mistake to make, not having barbed wire. They're there for a reason. Do they need more bulletproof cams, perhaps, to kind of make up for lack of a Valkyrie? There's operators there that you can bring. You know, Doc, for example, kind of rings home to me as a great operator who can anchor down really well, can, of course, provide that healing speciality that he brings, but also the intel for the bulletproof.
Especially when you have Legion on the board pretty consistently, you have those kind of operators. It seems like they're opting more for the half-reinforced, the half walls and the short walls, and they're kind of trying to keep aggressive control that way from angles more than barbed wire and more from slow and steady teams. And yeah, it's a region thing, I think, is the unfortunate thing of saying it, is that they seem to prefer that. They prefer the kind of aggressive frag play styles, and it's been a long history of that in this region, and we're seeing it more and more today, really. This is the slowest. It's weird to say that this is the slowest game that we've seen today, and even then there's usually someone dead within the opening 20 seconds, 30 seconds. Like,
It's been a big thing for Latin America, of course, is that great opening frag potential that they always try and reinforce as that aggressive nature. Heck, even look at the first round. Maestro spawn killing somebody right off the rip. It was the Ash. There's things to take kind of in consideration. What operators do we kind of think is that INTZ is lacking to kind of front up against this aggressive nature? More smokes, perhaps, is what they're kind of lacking?
Maybe. I mean, obviously, you've got to find a way to exploit what the team is doing. And at this point, what Furious is doing is, as I said, they're covering with angles, they're covering with aggression, and they're roaming. They're deep roaming. They're keeping vertical control pretty well. And we've seen it vertical twice against that point. Held well. It was almost the decider, and both times around. One, it unfortunately wasn't. The other, it unfortunately was. You know, and I guess having a bit more in terms of smokes to cover the plant obviously is a fantastic thing. I think being able to, I guess, keep a bit of a better eye from above. We haven't seen too much kind of multi-leveled and multi-storied play from INTZ so far. They're much more direct. They want to try and get in and get control, which we saw the opposite of Furious. They're playing some...
Yeah, you look at INTZ, very slow, very methodical. Things need to go their way. If they kind of lose that first blood, then they slow down. But then we could also say the same about Furious and their attacks and Bank. Whenever they kind of lost the first blood, everything kind of came to a standstill, which is something that we never really want to see as teams who, you know, they lose the first two picks and it's just like, the recipe's ruined. You know, you have to make do with what you have.
Yeah, just but obviously, as we said before, this is a best of 3 as well. So this is obviously the second map. This is INTZ's map as well. They opted to come to Coastline. No one else has really wanted to come anywhere near Coastline. It's generally been a pretty consistent ban. And to be fair, when it went through, we did kind of say, why has Furious Gaming allowed this? And so far, they've done a pretty nice showing on it. They seem very comfortable holding this map.
Yeah, well, it's defense first, so we'll have to kind of see how they make their way into the attack. So there's a lot of options whenever we move over, of course, to the next half.
Well, I guess we'll see in just a second when we jump back into the game. But can they find a way to hold on, or can they find a way to take this hookah? Now, if we hark our memory back, just a couple of rounds to the first time we were in hookah. It was a heck of a showing by the Maestro of Pretzel.
Yeah, I like the deployable shield that he was also hiding behind, because not only does that give cover if somebody trying to push in aggressively towards that hookah door, it also gives him cover to anybody wanting to go for the single window rappel, which creates a massive kind of spacious area right down the center of the bomb site, and also you can potentially see it into the A bomb site also.
Yeah, I think they've just done really clever, creative things with deployable shields today I've seen so far. Normally, you know, obviously they are now absolute monsters with their little mirror windows built in. Thank you, Mira, for changing those up. Really appreciate you.
Well, she's not going to get played anytime soon, so she may as well try and get something on the board from her.
Yeah, she builds all the gadgets for everyone else to have fun as she sits in the van and waits.
But made the tank just shield, didn't she?
Yeah.
She made her shield before she was even released as an operator. That's dedication right there.
She, you know, she's eager.
That's like the guy in the group who goes for a job interview and like brings food for the guy who's interviewing him just to try and look better.
She also helped make Amaru's gear. I think she helps. She has a hand in like everyone's stuff. She's the stuff maker.
Wow, these mechanists these days.
I know, and I think that's the official term, is stuff maker. But Vit's
Stuff
setting
maker.
up those nomads ready for someone to rotate underneath as they move, well, like SEAL Team 6, and they find their way through those points. Boar is putting pressure on Lambo's side as well, trying to make sure they can kind of assert a bit of dominance and a bit of control. Obviously, as we said, this didn't go so great last time Inst pushed, but some pretty amazing play from the Maestro. And the Maestro hasn't taken a victim yet, but obviously that was a spawn peak, and those only really work once or sometimes twice, depending on how awake your team is.
Lion, also a big, strong operator for INTZ. It's kind of taken them, I think, quite a good distance in terms of how they want to execute on towards the bomb sites. It kind of gives them that freedom of how they can kind of drone out people and use it in coordination, and you simply push in with your strong fraggers that you have. 2 players in towards that penthouse, one inside bathroom, one playing very close towards them. Have to see later on and check in to see what they'll be cooking up for us. But once again, INTZ, more of the pressure being established in towards the aquarium. This is where they will make their main beachhead, and whenever they don't really need a hard breach to open up anything, it just comes down to more of the fragging potential. Also like the fact that it's going to be Sophia up there, so she can get rid of the Maestro cameras that are going to be lingering inside of the pillars.
Well, we can hear Buck is doing a whole heck of damage to the floor underneath through the frag grenade and didn't quite catch anyone. The only one who's really suffered anything in terms of how minor the damage is the smoke, and there is Drunks finally getting the smoke, and finally the trade comes in. You can see they were making their way across in the corner of the camera's eye, but it took a while, and unfortunately Smoke suffers. Pretzel as well has taken a bit of damage here. The Lion goes off for the second charge. They want to find a way in to swing in onto this point, and there is Lesion lying down, rolling around, and Nomad is having none of that, but there will be more close by. Spotted on the camera, knows someone is probably going to be playing around the side, and swings close, and there it is, another for Vitz, who has so frequently shown up for the team. Doesn't see the close, does see the close man. I was about to say doesn't, but swings and clicks on heads like nobody's business. 2-2 for Ints that seemed a little bit invigorated.
Wow, INTZ, they've came back after the rehost, and they've looked much stronger. You know, straight away you can see the communication that kind of came in. Nomad was stunning, to a word that we can use. Being able to flick and reaction such was great, and that kind of sums up your individual players who can single-handedly win you the games and just give you on a golden platter. You know, how many times have we seen have that one standout player who single-handedly brings them a victory?
That's it. Not many. For me, it's the talisman player. And, you know, you can have ones that are... It's like 2 different levels of it. You can have ones that lift the entire team up, and you can have ones that just the team supports them to do what they do best. And this is one of those situations, really.
So Zooper has decided to disconnect of his own free accord. We don't know. As, looks like we're still playing. I'm not sure.
They are asking if they have another rehost. I guess that is down to the admin's side.
That's not our problem.
No, that's not our problem.
We'll keep talking.
We're paid to talk rubbish.
You know, what's your perfect Sunday? Look, what's your perfect Sunday?
A lion.
Do you know what my perfect Sunday is?
What?
Casting with you.
Is it Sunday today?
No, it's Monday.
No, it's Monday now. I'll have to wait a week. Ints, they unfortunately cannot rehost. No, Furious unfortunately cannot rehost because they've already used one, so they're just going to see if they can obviously get their man back in time. It's an unfortunate thing to happen, but woe is the rules, and so we must follow them. They start to clear open now and get the standard hold that they did before. It's a little bit of a loss, but we can see if they can make it work. Vigil is waiting for someone on that service door, see if they can catch someone pretty early and try and bring it back to a 4-4. And I guess, hey, I'm glad to see it hasn't dampened their spirits and their aggressive style as they push forward. Ints, in a weird way, probably want this round as a win, sure, and maybe try and get through it as quickly as possible. They drop Lesion and the Lion pops come out. It's a 5-3 as the Nomad goes off behind. The quick flash there. Great reactions just to try and dampen them so they don't get swung in on. But look at that cover just on yourself and kind of gives you the freedom and the space and a bit of a bubble of air to be able to move in.
you even seen that like, Nomad is ready for the rotations that Vigil's trying to take place. You know, placing that air jab, it goes off straight away. INTZ have a very, very strong information gathering, you know, on where these positions that Furious are going to try and roam towards, and maybe that's because they did it earlier in the game, yes. Skills does respond, though, with a kill, and oh, there's the peek from Maestro. It doesn't go his way, and once again, Nomad Vits, insane with this ARX. It's one of the best guns that attackers have at the moment. Really strong at hitting rifle. Sure, there's limited ammo capacity, but if you hit your shots, it doesn't matter. 90s they walk on in, they use that rehost, of course that disconnect to their advantage, and well, 5v4, easy work for INTZ.
Yeah, they kind of shut that down very, very quickly, and I guess we'll see a very long attempt as they try and pick in. Still no reconnect, unfortunately. Maybe there's bigger internet problems, which is an unfortunate synonym we see too often. They are taking a while, as we said, to pick their operators. They want to take as much of that buffer window to try and get their missing fifth in, but sign yes, unfortunately. Lock in for another round where they're slightly hobbled by the missing fifth player. Kitchen Service will go to as their last hold. Gonna try something a bit fresh and a bit new as the final attempt, and still Lions on the board. Nook is a fresh pick here, I believe, and otherwise a pretty aggressive method of pushing across.
Attackers need to locate and defuse bombs.
Kitchen now for the first time for Furious. Maestro, Mozzie, Legion, Smoke up for them. So are they going to take the more aggressive standpoint? Again, being handicapped at this point. Or will they try and hold on and anchor, which we know if you're going to try and anchor against INTZ, it's probably not going to go your way with how they kind of pressure you in, using the Buck and using the Lion, of course, and even the Flame Arrows. So much utility for INTZ, and there's even the Nook being thrown in, which Nook's an operator that, you know, her gadget doesn't really give that much of an impact. It's not a flashy gadget, it's nothing special, but now kind of she's fitting into the meta. You know, we're seeing a lot more teams and regions kind of pick up this operator and try and utilize her to the best of her ability, which is being sneaky, is being a crouch walking person. And Furious tried to get something back, and that's again another spawn kill has failed for them, and INTZ are just gonna steamroll this round, I think, once more.
I mean, it's the unfortunate thing is when this happens and you've already used your rehost and you've got to stick by the rules, and you know you've got to stick by the rules. It's just a matter of, well, what can we try and do to shake this? Which is a shame because they were looking so good in the battles between the rounds, but now they don't have the man of 1,000,000 miles per hour, Zupa, so they've just got to try and find a way to bring it together. Lion suffers half health. Did almost get dropped in the run-out, but managed to survive as Nook gets pushed forward. Pretzel is looking for the big firefights and suffers from the back. The drones are there, and everybody spills in from INTZ as they make their way. There is a swing round onto the wall and a follow-up, where another round quickly falls into the decimating hands of a man-up INTZ.
My, oh my. INTZ just grabbing the bull by the horns and making this a success. So we move in next to our second half for INTZ. They will take up arms in the defense. Now Furious, they have to attack. Hookah first up for INTZ. And look at the other lineup. They're going to be bringing the Echo. So no Maestro on the board, which is something that we kind of seen Furious pick constantly. They're always having that operator, gives them that information. It can also, of course, be used as a bit of a denial.
Well, I mean, it's a shame to see someone be unable to pull back. I'll say that much. But we are going back into, obviously, the swap over, the half-time. They are pushing a man down against a pretty solid defense. We can see, obviously, we've got the roam denial there, as you said, and I'd say it's a bit of a lack thereof, really. IQ is going to be able to at least find the Echo that were a bit of a dampener on their push previously. But otherwise, yeah, they look like they want to swing into this aggressively. They've got the Mozzie to get that roaming knowledge. They've got the Vigil as well, and Duds on the Jaeger can always be wherever he wants to be, really. And I guess we'll see if they're willing to let up at all, because it's almost like being the man up. Sometimes it doesn't sometimes it shakes a team, sometimes it wakes a team, and this is INTZ realizing they can take full advantage of this.
Oh, Furious, what do we do with you? Drunks using that Echo drone as a bit of an early information gatherer, and that kind of sums into him being able to quick peek, using it as a Valkyrie camera in many instances. And also Vigil, once again, a very popular operator among the Brazilians.
He plays into their style well. Obviously, the thing is, they pre-place a lot of drones and they use those as their information and that kind of balance of stuff. So it allows him to freely kind of move in and amongst that in the setup and get himself dug in some faraway corner and then return later on with a vengeance, which again kind of plays in because it forces them to at least pay a bit of attention to the opposite side and to go for a clear. Furious wasting no time, and unfortunately neither is Duds as he shuts down one and creeps round to find a second. Skill suffers in the Hall of Fame as the Jaeger finds another victim, and now it is a 5 versus 2. And we are barely in and barely close to the 2-minute mark.
Massive gates are shutting for the OGI Pick qualifiers if you're Furious Gaming. Just unfortunate, 4v5, it's always going to be rough for them. And INTZ, of course, a formidable foe at the moment. That just easy pickings for INTZ. FJ, 1v5, make the dream come true.
Well, has the F2, has the long angle, and has a bit of knowledge as to knowing where they are. But from this point on, you've got to have a bit more than that. You've got to have a lot of luck on your side. There is at least some as one swings in, almost gets the second and the third. Everyone is going full aggro here against the man on the balcony. They are well aware of it, are probably concerned about someone breaking out behind them, his stuff being smashed open, and pushes slightly into the smoke canister, trying to be a bit aggressive again against the people pre-firing and popping, sees ahead for a second. But that is the second smoke canister, just buying them a little bit more time as they manage to get across the chasm of the open window and go for a big rotate. 100 miles an hour inside and via theater. They're looking to try and get in behind. What was the aggressive hold and the aggressive look in, but unfortunately for them, the INTZ players have pulled all the way back to point.
3 more to go. FJ now moved in towards that luggage. Doesn't have diffuser though, so everybody can just back off from INTZ. They know they have so much breathing room just around it. Even the Echo comes in, just toying with him at this stage. Sure, the F2 is a good gun, but you have to try and land your shots, and not just one opponent, but all 3 of them still alive and well. And even if he does manage to get, the first 2, still doesn't have diffuser, not enough time. There's Echo, swings on around. Drunks, last kill. INTZ, they push further and further. 5-2 the scoreline, just like they did leave us in the last map.
Well, round 8, Furious Gaming, they're still trying to crash their way through this as we've seen them so aggressively play before. Penthouse Theater is going to be the next pick for INTZ, which is a little bit out there in terms of a second selection. Obviously, when you still have quite a few points left on the board and no mirror, Valkyrie to try and hold this. They're instead going to trust the Mozzie stuff and see how they can go from here. Maestro as well, as again we see quite an aggressive lineup from Furious Gaming.
Penthouse is more of the surprising thing of all of this. Not sure, the aggressive lineup, that's common now for LATAM, but Penthouse, especially a bomb site, which we don't see unless there's the mirror window, but it is a 4v5. They know there's not going to be that much utility being brought by Furious Gaming whenever they're bringing operators like Ash and Twitch, who are designed primarily to get those kills, and the Twitch isn't going to really do much with the shock drones. Ash may be using that to breach a hatch. Sophia's there as well. Finka being brought into the mix again, so wonder if those boosts are going to help them as much as what they did kind of in the last map. But still, INTZ, you just have to favor them here in the 4v5. Unfortunate situation that we have to keep talking about, but it is what it is. It's the way the game is. And yep. INTZ, you have to get on with it as equally as what Furious do.
Rules are their rules. Well, 5-2, they've obviously made the most of having the man up, and they're doing it with the aggressive style we kind of expected to see. It really shows that they are a capable team of kind of lighting up, and they otherwise looked a little bit not dead in the water, but a bit quieter than we're used to kind of seeing in the earlier rounds.
Attackers' objective is
As
to
they still clear themselves the sight lines. Now, Furious, can they find a way in and find it much more kind of balanced? It seems like they've generally all spawned on the opposite side, trying to find a more direct approach against Lambo Door. They're covering each other's shoulders. If they can try and find this early spawn peak and use it, assuming there will be another one, then that puts them in a 4-4. That puts them in a more reasonable situation. But they just need to try and get the opening frag and then find the momentum behind that. Exploit the fact that Ints are being pretty covertly and pretty overtly aggressive with the man-up situation.
Yeah, let them peek you, get those free kills. You know, let kind of Ints beat themselves at this stage. But still, Furious, there's a lot of work ahead of them. Vigil, always roaming, always ever-presence, and skills. R4C doesn't make a mark, doesn't even make a dent in the proverbial armor that is INTZ.
Pretzel's trying to find a drone inside, and Dower is contemplating jumping by the looks of it, but has opted to stay alive for one more day as FJ swings their way into Hookah, and they want to start clearing across this horizontally. Now, the Twitch drone has been a bit of a big information gainer for them so far, but fortunately did not find the Jaeger, who finds one, hops out, and does not find a second, just pops a bullet off to the distance to try and get the man connecting back into the game, and Dower at least finds one in their favor. Drunks gets shot down and rotate back around as FJ looks for someone via the drone hole, knowing that they just dropped the drone on that side. You can see someone on the far side in a luggage, and otherwise they're generally all inside the point. A minute 10 on the board to try and find some semblance of an attack here, but Finker's going for a big rotate, trying to find another angle.
2v4. See if FJ can try and pull off some magic. He tried his best last time. Could this be the one? You also see Finka pushing in from below, but again, 50 seconds to go. Both of them are nowhere near the objective. Still have yet to go through INTZ. The mighty gatekeeper, of course, that is Vigil, still lurking around. And it looks as if we're going to see the Finka rotate in towards Security, up through the main lobby, and then finally in through the staircase to try and get a better angle onto people who may be inside of 90. And there's the Echo and Vigil line up, but just the Echo falls, and well, Vigil's still alive. And well, once again, FJ, he's nowhere near sight in the main lobby, and let's get that one kill. 20 seconds to go, and will INTZ throw this? No, they will not. Match point, series point for INTZ.
6-2, no sign of the fifth as well, so it looks like they're just going to have to play out the rest of this as they are. And I guess it's a bit of a breath of fresh air for Ints. They were seemingly struggling for periods of the time. Yes, they did lock off the first map on a 7-3, so technically the scoreline isn't that different, and we assumed that they would do well on their defenses anyway. But no, it's kind of swung the way it has. It's kind of invigorated them. They feel bolstered by how this has kind of ended up. And, you know, if I'm honest, even just from the kind of momentum that's being swung by both teams, I don't really see Furious being able to pull this back. And there's a second Tachanka of the day. The second one, if it doesn't get sixth picked off. Ah, that's a shame.
Oh, it's kind of took a bit of a dampener now on the whole night, hasn't it?
I mean, yes and no. We're always expecting to see this, and to be fair, Ints, they were expected to generally take some of these rounds anyway. It's always sad to see, don't get me wrong, because it was an exciting games, and
because it's kind of turned the game into, like, you know, still expect INTZ to win, but it's kind of went from, like, you know, really close rounds to just landslides.
Yeah, it has been very, very clean wins.
It's just been, like, painstakingly, like, slow, you know, from Furious now.
The thing about Furious as well is normally when a team gets a man sent off, you can react in two ways, and some teams play very well after that because they almost realize that they have to play for the extra man. They're a man down. Unfortunately, it looks like Furious has kind of gone the other way, and
yeah,
they've got a bit defeatist about it.
I don't think we've ever seen a game of Siege where the 4v5, the team with 4 has actually won.
No, but we've definitely seen them take rounds.
Yeah, sure, but overwhelmingly it's just been more the team who has, again, more operators on the board with more utility. Especially if you go 4-man down on the defense, it's really rough because you just don't have enough reinforcements, first of all, but you're also lacking utility and stuff that you need to bring. Sure, attack, there's potential whenever there's some pretty impressive guns, and FJ, of course, on the F2. Finds one, but a quick refrag, of course, from INTZ. That's what we expect from them. The double French setup. There's Doc, there's Rook, ready to rock and roll. The MP5, and now Furious, already a man down. And again, it's that Ash who just has died like nearly every single round first, hasn't she?
Well, I do like how they waited at the beginning to get the entry pick. They waited for someone to peek them, and they took advantage of that. But then as soon as they entered, there was the cover on the side. So it was just they were able to kind of lock down on the Ash that entered. And FJ, all credit to them, have generally been playing very well and picking up frags and being able to pick up trades. But Finka gets dropped as she drops into the courtyard, and Duds and Drunks both find one each. And yet again, we find ourselves, it is FJ, and Skills is calling the GG at this point. And when you're 6-2 and they're running out on you, well, unfortunately, your premonition has come true. Well played to both teams. An unfortunate way for a fate for Furious to suffer. But at least they wish the good luck, and we'll see if Ints can take that win of luck and find their way through the rest of this bracket.